are live with the one and only Julie from, you may know her, Craftevan on Instagram. Or, I don't know if we want to talk about it, but apparently you have a mini tattoo as well. So,
Oh,
welcome.
yeah.
Thank you for being on. Yeah, it took us a little bit. I think we got it figured out. We got a sweet little backdrop of your mini, and looks like another mini in the background. We'll jump into that for sure.
Yeah, there's quite a few old rusty things in here.
Well, I don't think you would be a mini enthusiast if you didn't have rusty minis and parts and stuff all up in the garage, huh?
There's definitely lots of that.
Well, thank you for being on. I don't know, if people may not have noticed, but this is the first female on the show, and I appreciate it. And it's not for the lack of trying. I'm not, not trying to be inclusive for those that might think I'm not, but I reach out to anybody and everybody, and thank you for being the first and one to actually say, yes, let's talk minis.
No problem. That's one thing I can do, and I can do it very well, is talk minis.
I'm excited. Yeah, Leaky was like, "Hey, you should talk to Julie." I was like, he sent me your Instagram, and I was like, "Hey, I know that. I know Craft Fan." And I was like, "What the?" And then I was like,
Oh,
"Son of a bitch, I have a ton of your stickers and patches, and this one's my favorite, I think. Sump Scraper, for those that are just listening. Craftevan is, and we'll get into this later. She makes a lot of stuff in general, but pins and patches and stickers and stuff like that. And it was like a year or two ago. My wife is pretty good at finding little knick-knack mini things, and I opened them. I was like, "Oh, these are so cool!" Like where? And I had. She was like, "Oh yeah, I don't know. I just found someone on an Etsy, I think." And I was like, "Dang!" And then a few weeks ago when I was Leaky sent me that, I was like, son of a bitch. I don't know why I never searched it on Instagram, but if you guys aren't following, go check out Craft Fan. She makes some cool stuff, mini related, gardening related, old thing vintage related, I guess.
yeah, it's just anything I like, really. Just yeah.
Perfect. Um, so let's jump into classic minis. How did you get into classic minis? What started it? What kind of drew you to it?
Um, I think I've always had a thing for sort of unusual vehicles. When I was little, my parents were into motorbikes, and I was actually named after my dad's favourite motorbike. So my middle name is Motor Guzzi, or Motor Guzzi, as you probably meant to
Wow.
pronounce it. So
Re-
yeah, it's kind of destined to be a bit weird and wonderful. Um,
that that's really cool.
and then I spent a lot of my childhood traveling around with my dad in his Toyota Hilux, going to sort of truck festivals and shows and things, with sort of all the monster trucks, because it was heavily done up, like jacked up with big wheels on and stuff. And then when it kind of came time for me to look at getting my own car and learning to drive, I always wanted a mini. It was either a mini or it was a monster truck or something ridiculous and big or something tiny. So practicality wise, it was going to be a mini. And yeah, and then I sort of trawled websites trying to find my mini. Ended up finding one on eBay. And then it all just kind of tumbled from there. I ended up meeting friends through my mini, joining clubs, going on some of the best adventures in my life, and yeah, I just became a bit obsessed with it. It was just a really bad addiction, to the point where I got a tattoo. I don't know if you can see it very well, of a mini.
I see it. I see it.
Um, and then quite often, because it's just the outline. When I was drunk at university, it ended up getting coloured in, and then you drew a caravan on the side, and it just went off crazy. And yeah, and then it's just been such a big part of my life that everything seems to revolve around minis now.
I love that. It's interesting to me that All right. Well, your parents were into motorbikes, but you kind of drove around. It sounds as if your childhood was basically like off-roading, like kind of four by four trucks, and then you went the complete opposite to a Mini. What drew you to the Mini though? Was it? I'm assuming again.
I quite
I've
like
said this.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, go. No, no, no. I was just gonna say I've said this many times. I grew up in Texas. I never saw them, so it was like kind of this elusive car to me. But I'm sure it was a dime a dozen for you guys over there.
Yeah, there was quite a lot of times in my life I kind of came across a Mini. There was a lady my mum used to work for, and she had a red one with a Union Jack on the roof. She also had Smarty Doc Martins, which were just really cool. And I just want to be like her. Her Mini's awesome. And I really like practical cars, and then I really like cars mainly of the 60s. Me and my husband have got a thing about 1967. It seems to be all of our favourite vehicles come from 1967. So yeah, it's just lots of different things, and I like them because they're practical, because they're little, but you can take four people can travel in them. You can park in pretty much any parking space. They're nippy. You've got loads of room. I always had a roof rack on mine. So as you can imagine, three girls at university going off to IKEA or to charity shops, and we'd always end up bringing back loads of junk, and it would just be piled high on this roof rack. We bought a table once from IKEA, and chairs and everything. And we're like, how are we going to get this home? I said, it's fine. We'll just put it on the roof. And it's like this little red Mini with a roof rack on, a table, chairs, everything piled high. It was like something out of Mr. Bean, you know. But it was, I just love it. They just bring so much happiness.
I know the feeling, and I've tried to put my finger on it so many times, and through these conversations with people too. It's like, what is it about the Mini that just brings that joy? And I've known a lot of people that are, car guys, car girls. In general, they like all sorts of cars, and then they get their Mini, and then it's like brand loyalty. Like they've never like they just can't stop. They've never owned like multiples of a certain brand until it came to the Mini. They just can't stop doing it.
Yeah.
It's hard to put your finger on it. It sparks joy, I guess.
It's like
Something fun.
even the sort of boy racer kind of minis. You see, like my minivan when that had its old exhaust on, it was so noisy and straight cut gears, everything. It was an absolute hooligan. And you put your foot down, and I say it sounds like death. You know, it's just like bah. And if you get boot it through a town or something, and you're making everything scream, all of the noise, and people will turn around as if to see like a boy racer or something. Then they see a Mini, and they're like, "Oh no, it's okay, it's fine, it's a happy little Mini." Give it a little wave and things, and you think I could be, you know, you can't be unhappy when you see a Mini.
That's facts, 100% facts. It's funny though that you label it, I guess, still as practical, because I feel like a lot of people wouldn't think it's a very practical car nowadays. But you're right, though. I mean, it was invented for family of four, vacations, enough room for luggage, I guess, and especially if you have a roof rack or a minivan, there is a little bit more room. And I went on a pretty long couple-week road trip in mine all across the United States, and I had all my luggage, spare tire, a jack, tools. Like it's fine. It worked. I don't know.
Yeah, they are brilliant.
That's fun. Um, is your husband into minis as well, or he kind of?
Um, I'm gonna say no. So, in the UK, around the sort of same time the Mini was sort of popular, there was another car called a Hillman Imp,
Yeah.
um, and whoever you ask, there's always this rivalry, like, oh, the Imp's better, no, the Mini's better. Well, my husband was an Imp man, so when I met him, he had a Hillman Imp, and I had my Mini, and I think his heart still thinks that Hillman Imps are better, but after me sort of persuading him, since we've been together, we've got my minivan and stuff. I think secretly deep down he knows that minis are better.
Hillman M's are definitely cool. That's a car you don't see too often over here, even at like British car shows. But I don't know. I would something about they're definitely they hit that they check that quirky fun car box, but I don't know. Like we've already said, there's something about the Mini that just kind of keeps on giving.
I think the Hillman Imp they were just a bit more temperamental. I always hear of them breaking and stuff, and at least with the mini breaking, it's never that much of a catastrophic issue.
Knock on
You
wood.
know, they don't just blow the head off and things. So.
Does he still have an imp?
No, he
Uh,
tried. He got another one, and then he was like, "No, actually." So we've got a Land Rover now at the moment, so that's his thing. But I keep stealing her.
I saw that. We'll jump to that a little later. I want to talk about that for sure. Um, so like I said, if you don't follow Julie on Instagram, I see a lot of, I don't know if I want to plug your personal Instagram, but your craft van, it has a lot of pictures of your minivan, which is in the background there. Tell us a little bit about that.
Um, so it started. So I went to university and did textiles as a degree, and I worked in a shop alongside it. And when I first got my mini, I just wanted to tell everyone about it. I wanted to talk to people about it. People would stop me in the car park and say, "Oh, I used to have one of them," and things, and I absolutely loved it. It was like not, I guess, a bit like an ego boost. Like I just wanted to talk about it all the time. So I used to wear a little tiny mini pin badge that I'd got from a car show, and and then people had talked to me about it, and I thought, oh, I'd really like to have more things. Like I'd love to be able to wear t-shirts that are a bit more sort of feminine or a bit more a bit different than what was available. Because you could get a t-shirt with a picture of a mini on, but they were all pretty much the same. So
Yeah.
I started Craftevan not long after finishing university, um, just to make things that mainly had minis on, that were a bit different, but also catering for other females who are a bit nerdy about cars. Like I've got a dream that I want to make a dress with Unimogs all over it, because that's another thing I love. So if somebody was to sort of message me and say, "Oh, I don't know, I've got this 2B Ford Control Land Rover that I love. Could you make me sort of um, a pretty dress with it on that's a bit feminine, but it's got this Land Rover all over it?" Like, hell yeah, yeah, I'd love to do that. So I don't know. It's a very niche thing, but it's just everything in my head from my love of cars that I kind of get out and make into products like the patches and clothing and jewelry and stuff. And it's just to fun little things for the other car nerds out there.
I love it though. It's the I just like the style. Like, do you draw all of this, or
Yeah,
are you?
yeah, everything's drawn.
It's amazing. It's like some of it's like a little bit. I don't know if you guys call it that over there, but in the tattoo world, it's a little bit of like American traditional style, kind of that thick black outline, simple color palette, simple designs, but they just work. They're very recognizable and they're fun. You have like the fun um, sayings like sump scraper, and one of my other favorites is the foot spa one with the leaky pedal box, I guess.
The stickers and the patches, they were kind of, I designed them a bit like scout patches. So when you do your scout badge, you did your, I don't know, help to sweep up for an old person or something like that. And you're doing your little badge, wouldn't you? Like how to make a cup of tea or something. So they're kind of like the scout patches of owning minis.
Yeah.
So the Footwell's Foot Spa one, that was one of the first outings. Well, one of the first rallies I went in my mini. We went over to Wales, and I didn't realise, but the window seal had gone. So all the
Oh
water was
no.
pouring in and filled my footwells. And I think it was maybe only a couple of weeks after having it. And one of the guys turned around to me and said, "Have you taken the plug out? Are you having a laugh?" I said, "The plug?" He's like, "No, no, I'm being genuinely serious. Have you knocked the plug out of the footwell?" was like, what? And I lifted it up and goes, these little rubber grommets here, just give that a good whack. And it poked it through, and then all the water could drain out. And I don't think I ever put one back in. I just used to let the water keep going out. I fixed the wind seal, but I don't think I ever put a grommet back in. So I was like, oh, if it gets water in, it'll go back out again. So yeah,
That's hilarious. I love that. But yeah, the patches I always liked patches, but I never had anything to like put patches on. Maybe like backpacks or something back in the day,
you
but
need a
I
blanket.
well, I got all of these patches. Like I said, my wife got me them, and for Halloween, I was like, what should I be for Halloween? Something simple. I like Halloween. My wife's not huge into it, but I was like, let's do something together, and I was like, let's be the BMC Works Rally team, and so we got the one piece. I don't know what you guys call them over there, coveralls. I spray painted like BMC on the back, and I put a bunch of your patches on the sleeve and stuff. So now I have an excuse to wear it in the garage while I'm working on the mini. So I have those on my sleeve on my little coveralls.
A lot of people I know collect them on a blanket on the back of their car, so they have them like a little blanket on your back seat,
Oh yeah.
and then they'll stick the patches on that, and it's quite handy having a little like picnic blanket because when the heater decides to pack up or it's not working enough when you're on a cold journey. I've had it before. I've had this emergency blanket. I pulled it from the back, like, oh, I'm so cold now, and had it over my knee whilst I'm driving.
Julie, I don't know if you've ever been to Southern California, but I don't think I'll have that
Yeah.
problem here. I don't have a heater anymore. I took mine out.
Yeah, it's not as
Uh,
nice here.
well, for those summer days, I don't know. You guys drive it a lot in the winter?
I used to. So my red mini that you can't quite see at the back, the one that's just a shell. She was my everyday car whilst I was at university, and then for a little bit after. But it it was rebuilt when I got it, and it wasn't in a great way. The front wings had only been sort of glued on; they hadn't been properly welded on. So when she came off the road, um, she had a few scabs and things, and the synchro was going into second. And I thought, you know what, I'll take her off the road and try and do a bit of work, and then it's ended up being a lot longer than I thought. But hopefully this year, as I tell myself every year, she'll get back on the road. But yeah, that's poor
That's
Ruby.
always this year. So, how many minis you had? When did you get the red one? Tell us about the red one.
I got the red one as soon as. So in the UK, we have a provisional license that means that you can sort of drive either with somebody who'd been driving for 3 years or like as you're learning. So you always had to have somebody in the car with you. So I bought it as I got my provisional. So I'd not passed my test yet. And my idea was to kind of learn with my boyfriend at the time how to drive in the car. I don't think he really liked going out with me. So in the end, my best friend, her license had turned to 3 years. So she used to jump in me, and we just went on mini adventures, stuck the L plates on, and just used this as an excuse to get out and about. Which I don't know whether it's technically the right way to do it, but we had lots of adventures without me even having my driver's license. Um, and then yeah, so
What kind of mini is it? Is it just a two door saloon?
yeah, it's an 88 Mayfair. But the previous owner had changed the colour from white to red. And then in the rebuild, I'm wanting to try and do something a little bit different because I quite like that a lot of minis are unique, and I've always been inspired by sort of Paul Smith's mini and Twiggy's mini and things like that, where they have their own sort of wacky paint jobs that make them unique. So I'm hoping I might be able to do something like that with it. And a few other sort of nice twists because most of her original bits are missing anyway. And to be honest, the Mayfair wasn't anything, you know, all these 80s sort of special editions, and I don't think it was really one that was that special.
It seems like there's a lot of Mayfairs out there, but
I don't feel
yeah, I
about
mean,
butchering it.
yeah. I don't. I mean, someday maybe, like a long time in the future, it's like, oh, but like I said with mine's '90s Cooper, a Rover Cooper. Maybe one day that'll be a collector's item, but it's definitely not original, and it didn't come to me like that. So I'd rather just kind of get it rolling and moving rather than bringing it back to original spec.
Yeah, I think that's
So
my thought.
so when did that come off the road and when did you get the minivan?
Oh, I can't remember that. I can't remember the years. It was a long time ago now. I think I was without a mini for about 2 years, and I just pined after it. My friend let me have a drive of his, and I was there almost in tears to Tim, who wasn't my husband at the time, he is now. And I was just like, I need a mini. I miss my mini. My red one's not going to be done anytime soon. I can't do this anymore. I got a modern mini as well for a bit,
Yeah.
as like my everyday car, but it wasn't the same. It just wasn't, and that kept breaking. The idea was that would save me money, and then I could put more money into my mini, and I was just putting more money into that. So got rid of that, and then got the minivan. It must be oh, maybe 2015, I think. I got the minivan.
Okay, so you've had it for a little while now. Were you
Yeah,
looking for a minivan or were you just looking for another mini and it just happened to turn into the
yeah, I copied
van?
my friend.
Oh,
So one of my best, so I started Craftevan up, and I'll go into a bit about that in a minute. But I was at a show, and these two lads showed up in a minivan that was all sign written for their business. So he was called Connor, and his business was Magnetags. So he used to design these grill badges that were magnetic, so you could interchange them. But again, a bit kind of, like an accessory, and they did really
yeah.
quite well, and they were really popular. And yeah, so he showed up in his minivan, all sign written. I was just like, oh, that's just so cool. And I was so jealous. And I told my husband about it, and he met him as well. And I was just like, yeah, this is really cool. I was like, we need a minivan. We've got to get one. And he said, sort of, I think I found one on eBay, and he was like, right then, let's go get it. I was like, what? Seriously? He's like, yeah, let's go get it now. Oh, right, okay, cool, right. Well, we're getting a minivan. So drove all the way from Cumbria down to Oxford. I think it's Oxford. I'm sure it's down that way. And picked it up and brought it back. Again, another story. The trailer lights weren't working on the trailer on the way back, and we had about sort of the last hour driving home, and I was getting so stressed out because everyone was flashing at us saying lights aren't working. And like, I know, I'm just trying to get home as quick as I can. So that was not so fun. But yeah, anything involving a mini's got a story to tell. So
Right.
yeah, so managed to get it home, and then did a few tweaks on it because it's the chap who built it. I can't remember if he built it for some form of racing. I don't know if it was sort of quarter mile or what, but it was quite sort of racy. It's got a 1380 in it,
Oh, wow.
um, with a big Dell Auto carb, and it's on Mega Jolt. And my favourite thing is it's got straight cut gears, so it just growls and screams and does every kind of noise it can. And it's absolutely great fun to drive when it's not being temperamental. Um, but yeah, and then did a few things like changing the flywheel. So put a slightly heavier flywheel on because my intention was to put the Craftevan shop, the caravan, on the back of it and take it to some shows. So I had to make the van sort of a bit more capable of towing than racing. So I had
Yeah.
a friend who engineered the tow bar as well, because the van has a foam filled tank in the back behind the passenger seat rather than the original tank being sort of under the back. So it was a lot easier to put a tow bar on. Not as easy
Okay.
to fill up with fuel when you've got loads of stock in it, though.
That's cool. I didn't know it was like a race, a racy build because it looks so tame. It looks so classic and just on the outside. But that's the fun part. I guess you can always make a mini kind of rowdy without it looking rowdy, I guess.
Yeah, but the with the intention of wanting to sort of tow the shop, it wouldn't have made. There was a few sort of 850s or 998s out there, and I was just a bit worried they just wouldn't have the sort of grunt that you need nowadays to be towing about. Um, because even now with it, it's kind of happy at about 45, 50 miles per hour. You don't really want to be going over 50 with the van on the back. So it's I don't really do. I did a couple of mammoth journeys. I went over to IMM in Belgium, and that took me 23 hours.
Wow.
Um, and that was quite an epic journey. And I didn't realise that the fuel pump was on its way out as well. So I thought the carb kept freezing up, and it sort of jam up and not go, and I'd be stuck there at like 40, and I'd hear on the I had a passenger with me, and he had these handheld radios, and the guy at the back was like, "Can you just go a bit faster?" I'm like, "Oh God, I won't go any faster." And there's all these lorries in Belgium coming past us because it's rush hour. And just like, "Oh God, just get me off this road as soon as possible."
Uh,
So it's a bit stressful.
I love it, but you'll never forget those moments. That's awesome.
No, no.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, one of my definitely bucket list minis is a minivan with some sort of company writing on it, handwritten, hand painted, whatever. It just looks so good. It looks so perfect. It doesn't even matter what it says. I've seen, several of them now, and it just looks so proper. Did you do the painting, or did you have somebody do that?
I didn't know. I had a chap from, I think he's from Southport. He was a narrowboat painter, so his job was painting narrowboats. So there, I don't know if you have like know them in America, but like a canal barge, and everyone has like all these crazy flowers on them and sign writing and names and things. So
Mm,
he painted it for me, and I gave him sort of the font that I use and said, "Look, I want it to look kind of traditional, so feel free to put your twist on, but this is kind of the shape of the writing." So it's ever
right.
so slightly like squished up a bit, and he put the shadow on it, which I think on the narrowboats he said the shadow casting, whether you put it on the sort of bottom end or the top end, means whether it's a northern or southern boat. So
Mm.
because he's put it on the bottom casting, he says that's how the northern writers do it. Well, I lived in Cumbria, so it's like northern England. So it's quite nice that he put them little twists on. But
Mm.
yeah, sorry.
No, that's super cool. I love that kind of stuff, and that's something that I would never have known. I just would have assumed like, oh, it's just to give it some depth. But that's super, super cool and interesting. And at a meet or a show, like those are the things that I like to hear about. We always talk about what carb are you running, whatever. But those little touches like that makes it special. I love that.
Yeah. So
Super cool. Tell me about this the little van that you pull
so
behind it.
it's what the caravan.
Yeah, the caravan.
So it should be in the garage now, but I've not finished emptying it from a show about 3 weeks ago, so it's still stuck outside my house. But it's a Thompson Mini Glen. So Thompson was Scottish caravan manufacturer, and they manufactured each of their caravans to suit the British car market. So they released sort of maybe about 6 different caravans of different sizes and berths each sort of year. And the one I have is the 1970 Mini Glen. So it was designed to be sort of towed by cars like the Mini, mainly the Mini, um, like a Hillman
Really?
Imp and things like that. Yeah. So they did little things like make the wheels 10-inch wheels so that you didn't have to have an extra spare wheel You could just take one that would cater for your Mini and the Caravan, because
Wow.
obviously Minis can't tow that much weight, so they were thinking let's
Right.
save weight by just having the same spare. Um, yeah,
So it's what's it called? A Thompson mini
a
van?
Thompson
Mini what?
Mini Glen. Yeah,
Glan?
Glen, Glen. Um,
Oh, interesting. I'm looking that up. It's super cool. So yours is a 70.
a 1970. Yeah, so it's about
And
the same sort of age as 70, 74, sort of the van and things. Um,
in it because I'm trying to look at some of the pictures. It looks like so inside of it, is it like a little kind of sitting area? Is there like a little bed in there? What's in there?
No, so when I got it, it was in a bit of a sorry state. It kind of been butchered and stuff by a chap who was using it as somewhere to have a cup of tea and a smoke on a shoot. So it lived on the corner of a field for ages.
Okay.
So when I was renovating it, I had the intention of turning it into a shop because of starting Craftevan. Um, I'd have dreamt of having sort of a bricks and mortar shop, but it's just too expensive. And the thought of being able to
Hmm.
take my shop to people was kind of where I wanted to be. And so I renovated it to be a mobile shop. It was missing quite a lot. It didn't have the kitchen in it anyway. It had the seat bases and a wardrobe and a couple of cupboards and things. But in order to sort of make it lighter, I took a lot of that out and created sort of shop display areas. So there's sort of worktops that could have products on. There's what was the toilet, I turned into a little changing room so you could try the clothes on and things.
What?
Yeah, so it became a mobile shop then.
Wow. Okay, so it because it looks kind of big, especially for a mini to tow it. So I'm assuming it's fairly light, but it has like a hat. Well, I guess the new off a showroom floor one in 1970 does have like a little bed and a toilet and stuff in
Yeah,
there. Wow. So now you kind of built it out, a little showroom, and you made it a changing room. That's genius. I love this.
the originally this one was originally a two berth. So where I've got, as you go in the door, there would have been a kitchen on the left, and then on the right would have been sort of where your bed was. So you could probably reach and just make yourself a cup of tea in the morning on the kitchen. It's that tiny inside, without having to get out of bed and things. There
Right.
were a couple that were made for birth, which I don't know how they managed to get two more beds inside there because it is quite tiny.
What that yeah, I mean, okay, I scrolled back pretty far, but I see it in it looks like being pulled behind a Clubman, like a newer
Yeah,
mini.
yeah,
Okay. So
that was my
it
old,
is
old
or
mother
it's
mini.
not that it's not that big. Okay, so it's about the same size as a newer mini in length, maybe.
Yeah, so it's, I think
Wow.
it's 6 foot wide, and
Did you
then
have
I
to
think its
convert
back to
that?
hitch is 12 foot. So
Okay. Okay, so it's not that big. Are
no,
these common over there? I've never heard of this, but I'm gonna look this up for sure because
um,
this is something I need in my life.
yeah, they're so cool. Um, I wouldn't say they're massively common, but they do kind of come up and about. There's a little club for them as well for Thompson caravan owners, which is really nice, and they're lovely and helpful. There's a fantastic chap called Graham who spent a lot of time finding all the old pamphlets and stuff, and listing them up on a website. Um, Sadly, he passed away a few years ago, but
Hmm.
he was absolutely brilliant, very knowledgeable about them. And a few of us are kind of quite geeky. I'm especially quite geeky when it comes to a mini Glen. So there's somebody selling one quite recently, and there's like, oh, this is a 1965. And I was like, no, it's not. Door's wrong. And you've got plastic trim on it. And that is definitely an 82. And yeah, you just become a bit nerdy with it. So
Just sounds like mini owners, right?
yeah, it's a bit of a problem.
I don't I don't know if you guys get it a lot over there, but in over here people always say, Mini Cooper for sale, not, and it's not a Mini Cooper and it's not the right year and it's like just because they've been imported probably. And everyone's like, "That's not a Cooper. Wrong door hinges. Wrong water drip tray, or what? Like,
I think
uh,
I don't. Yeah, I get it quite a lot. There's a chap once at a show who's like, "Oh, I had a 1958 Cooper." It's like, "You what? Oh, 1958? No, you
wow,
didn't." It's like, "Yes, I
it's
did. Yes, I
rare.
did." It's like, "No, you didn't. Let me. I know more than minutes about minutes than you." It's like, "I assure you, you did not have a 1958 Cooper." It's like, "Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did." It's like, but for some reason, yeah, my
you're
voice.
mistaken, old man.
Yeah, an old man can't get told off by a young girl.
Yeah, yeah, that was funny. We had a funny story one time. It was like a little mini meetup, and this guy was walking around one of my buddies' actual Mark One Cooper, and he was like, "That's wrong. That's wrong." He's like, "No, actually, that was introduced in '66 or something like that." And the guy was just like, "Rah, rah." I'm like, where's your mini?" He was like, "Oh, it's at home." Like, oh, okay, cool. It's funny. Some people just have to be nitpickers like that, huh?
Yeah, I think I like being a bit nitpicky when it suits, but to be honest,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
really. If somebody's saying something that's wrong, then yeah, I'll get
Of
grumpy.
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
bothered if things aren't original.
I get
If
you.
if a mini's on the road and working, I'm more than happy. It's one less that's gone to the scrapyard. So
Yeah, I get
yeah.
you. I agree. I agree. Let's see here. So I wanted to ask you. We talked a little bit about Craftevan and kind of how you got started and stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of jump in. Unless you have anything else to tell the people about Craftevan, is it you have an online website or?
Yeah, there's a website. I mean, yeah, there's a little website. I'm absolutely appalling at doing anything that involves the internet, as you recently found out. Um, so pretty much 90% of the stuff I have and make isn't necessarily on the website. So
Hmm.
if anyone does see anything that they like, just message me.
Yeah.
And because I draw most of the stuff myself, I do quite a lot of custom orders as well. So just to cater for the people who have weird and wacky, wonderful vehicles who want them making onto things, or want things specifically their color and stuff like that, then that's
Right.
that's what I do.
Oh,
So
cool. I love it. Like, I mean, I think it suits classic vintage car lovers very well. Not just minis. So definitely go check it out. Messenger on Instagram, Crafty Van on Instagram. So let's jump into this. I saw recently. I guess you've been posting this Land Rover. Tell us about this. Is your husband kind of toy now? This thing's pretty cool and crusty. I love it.
yeah, there's a couple of well, we've got like a metal family, I suppose. So she's recently joined. She was going to be called Erica after a friend called Eric that we met in Belgium through one of my mini friends. She
Okay.
took us to see a chap who had a fantastic collection of Series Ones, and really inspired us to sort of get a Land Rover again. Since I've been with Tim, we've had Series Threes, 110s. We've always done new discoveries and things, and we've always kind of loved Land Rovers and had one between us. And we said never again after our last one. The gearbox pretty much fell out of it, and it was always breaking down. And it was a 1992 110. And it's what I always wanted. It was a 12-seater with the stripe defender stripe down the side. I was like, yes, that's cool. That's what I want. And then in
Right.
actual hindsight of owning it, it never blooming worked. It was forever breaking. So we sold that and said, no, we're not going to have a Land Rover again. We don't need it. And then this came up for sale, and Tim was like, I'm just going to put a cheeky bid on it and see if I get it. And he did. And went down south somewhere to pick it up. She's not called Erica anymore. She's called Madame Sugarlot, because that's what she does. She chugs hell of a lot. Um, she's a two, was it yeah, it's a 2 litre diesel. Um, so no, she's from 1958, a very early series too, long
Wow.
wheelbase. So there's no turbo or anything like that. It is just chug.
It's
Um,
just chugging.
top, yeah, top speed of about 45 miles an hour if you're downhill with a backwind.
Wow.
If you're going uphill with a headwind, you get about 20 miles per hour. Um,
Nice.
yeah, she's great fun though. I'm absolutely loving enjoying the sort of pootling around.
It
Um,
looks cool.
yeah,
It
it is
looks
cool.
cool. It fits the collection for sure. I like it.
Yeah, and then we've got, I don't know if you can see, I might be able to turn you. There's a Volvo Amazon here. Oh no, don't
Yeah,
break.
I saw that. Those are super cool too. I was going to ask, I think I saw that on there. So tell me about that.
Um, she's called Lola.
Lola.
We were renovating our first house and trawling through sort of car sales places as you do. And I always said to Tim that I really like the Volvo Amazons. When I was looking to buy my first car, the red one at the back,
Mm-hmm.
I saw a roof chopped, like hot rodded Volvo Amazon, and I nearly bought that. Um, but it didn't have MOT and tax, and I was like, "This is my first car. I need it to kind of be on the road." So very nearly had an Amazon as my first car. So we were looking through and was renovating our first house, and we saved up a bit of money to have our living room sort of replastered and fixed up.
Uh-huh.
And then we spotted Lola and was like, let's spend that money on a car instead. And she was in Holland, so we actually had to go and get a ferry over to Holland to pick her up and bring her back, and then repatriate her. Yeah. So she was on French plates, so we had to get her original registration put on her from living in the UK.
Wow.
She's done about nearly 1,000,000 miles. We've got it to about 800,000, but the clock
What?
stopped working. Yeah. And we thought, no way, no way is this. So we found the phone number of the guy who owned her between 1972 and I think it was 1997. And just on the off chance, called up and said, hello, is this such and such? Yes. We've got your old car. Can I just ask, is it by any chance, is this the mileage? Is it right? He goes, yeah, that sounds about right because I used to use it every day as a locum doctor. And then I'd go to France, 4 or 5 times a year to my house in France. So, yeah, that sounds about right. Like, oh, my neck. So,
Wow.
yeah. So
Th-
she's just in the middle of having her sort of last lease of life, having some more metal put back in her. Yeah, but she's kind of been, I don't know, kind of like the car of our sort of relationship because she's what I drove to my wedding with Tim.
oh,
I drove her myself with my bridesmaids. My poor dad was heartbroken. He'd got his Willis Jeep all done up with bows and everything. And he's like, "Oh, can I take you?" And he was like, "No, I'm gonna drive myself." So
oh man.
yeah, I followed him, and then yeah, took her on adventures with Florence when she was born. Had a picnic in the back of her on Christmas Day when she was about one. Yeah, just kind of lots of lovely adventures in Lola.
That's awesome. I
Sorry,
love
I
it.
can.
It's no, it's a great car. It again fits the fleet. It looks like it fits right in.
Yeah,
Very cool. I like those a lot. Do you have a Comer van too? What are
we
those
don't
called?
anymore. No.
Uh,
Yeah, that recently went. Had all good intentions of sort of restoring it. One of the ideas I had was to get another Thompson caravan and create
yeah.
a back on the back of it. But sadly, it was just too much work, and we sat down and talked about it and said it's just not going to be something we can realistically do. Sorry, that was a big something that just went past the garage. I
That's
think it's a
okay.
fast track or something that's a bit noisy here.
No
So
worries.
yeah,
That's fun. Cool. I love it. I love it all. It's fun to chat about all of that kind of stuff. So let's see here. Um, you've listened before a little bit?
Yeah, yeah,
Are you ready for the patty probe?
yeah.
Dun dun dun. You've been studying up. I feel like people. I need to like start
I think
switching
I've
up the
forgotten
hand.
everything.
For those that don't know, the patty probe are a set of questions, maybe controversial. It could be rapid fire, but usually we chit chat about them all. The first question is, what is your favorite mini variant?
Yeah, I'm really indecisive. um, at the moment, I really have my heart set on one of the kit car variations, which is a mini Nomad. Um, but to be honest, I love them all for different reasons. I really want a Nomad at the moment because it's very much like a little baby Land Rover. You can get a hardback sort of for them. A bit like, I don't know if you've seen them. They're a bit like a sort of moke esque.
Yeah, little Moki,
Um,
little Land Rovery. I've never
yeah,
seen one
so
in person. I've just seen them, in groups and stuff.
there are quite a lot of random sort of kit car minis that were made. But I
Yeah.
really have my heart set on one of them at the moment. And then I really quite yeah, I just like them all. I mean, a moke would be fantastic, but we don't have the weather
How?
as good as you have.
Yeah, right. How difficult would it be to find something like that? Like, is that
There's two
you know,
for sale at the moment.
what?
So yeah, they're normally quite hard to come by, but for some reason there just happens to be a couple for sale. And the same as a mini pickup. Like I'd love a mini pickup. Being a
Hmm.
gardener as well, I just
Right.
have this dream of being able to chuck sort of my mower and tools and stuff in the back and just go off gardening. But
Yeah.
in hindsight, I don't think it'd be that practical. Definitely get
Well,
stolen off the back. But I always like
yeah.
seeing pickups with sort of the old like Ifor Williams, as we have like back sheet cover backs on them, the big aluminium
Yeah.
backs, and actually being used for stuff.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
but
it's like my buddy Ricky No has his pickup. It's pristine, but he uses it all the time and he hauls stuff. He goes to Home Depot, gets wood and all of that. It's super cool. It's fun.
that's what I like. I just like the like I say, they are practical in their own funny little ways.
Yeah,
So I think yeah, I just love all minis.
I agree. I agree. This is a newer one that I added. Any favorite mini related movies or TV shows?
Um, I don't know. I really like Goodbye Pot Pie. Obviously, everyone loves Italian Job, but there's a really obscure French one. I think it's called something like Viva la Sport or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. I know it's on YouTube, but it's basically about these two cool French ladies who just go off on a mini adventure, and I
Ooh,
absolutely love that. And it's I always have this like little thing in my head where I want to make my own movie about all the
yeah.
wacky adventures I've been on as well. Um, and there's another one called Wild Target. That's got quite a fun little mini bit in it as well.
See, I knew
Um,
I would talk to somebody that would give me something other than Italian Job. Nice. I
Wild
like that.
Target's really good.
Wild
It's got
Target.
is it Emily Blunt in it, and she's beautiful, and so Bill Nye's really cool as well.
All
So
right,
yeah, Wild Target's
I'm gonna
definitely
look
one
those
to
up.
watch.
All right, sweet. I'm gonna look that up. Let's see here. Do. If you could have a drink, coffee, beer, tea with one mini celeb, who would it be?
I don't know. I think I don't really know any major mini celebrities. I'd I'd love to hang out with Paul Smith, just just talk about cars because he's got his Defender that he did as well,
Mm-hmm.
and being kind of from not far from me. He's in Nottingham, and I'm in Derbyshire, so I count as next to each other. But I think the real celebrities are sort of the mad mini family that we have. There's loads of people from IMM who I just think are celebrities in my own eyes, and
Yeah, I
just
agree.
hanging out with them.
I agree. No, I love. It doesn't have to necessarily be somebody actually famous or actually a celebrity, but there's definitely a lot of mini gurus, OGs that I see at shows that I just love talking to.
Yeah.
Julie, anything else you want the people to know? Go check her out. Craftevan. Buy some stuff from her. Some stickers, pins, patches, cute dresses that she wants to make. Let's make it happen.
Feel free to just chat to me as well.
Yeah.
I can bore people to death with everything I talk about. So,
No. I disagree. I don't necessarily. It's kind of funny. I run a podcast, but I don't necessarily like talking that often. But I love talking minis, and it's been great talking with you on the podcast and through Instagram and stuff like that. And same with everyone that I've interviewed, or majority of them that use Instagram. I feel like I talk to them daily about something mini related. So it's been very fun. So I'll definitely keep up the conversations, and everyone go check her out. Crafty Van on Instagram. And thank you for being on. I appreciate it.
no problem. Thank you.
All right. Catch you guys on the next one.
Cheers.